Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We're going to be talking about maintenance today, and yes, I'm deeply perturbed. There are a few things that really concern me. So one, we've had quite clear directives now in terms of care and contact, yet there has been absolute silence from government about maintenance. And this also speaks to emergency relief for mothers who have not got any maintenance, whose the other parent is months in arrears. And I'm seeing so many desperate pleas from these mums who have got no money and that ordinarily don't qualify for a social grant. And then I'm also seeing an increase of moms saying that the dad says he can only pay less, he can only pay a certain amount, which is much less than what the court order says, or he can't pay at all. So we have to accept that there are real legitimate cases where people have lost their jobs. But I'm getting a sense that this COVID-19 is being used as an excuse not to pay the court-ordered maintenance.
Yeah, I'll jump in the...
Yes.
Yeah, so it seems to me, for the first time ever, there seems to be a so-called legitimate reason, or a type of legitimate reason, to delay payment without a court deciding on the issue regarding the issue of lockdown. But the problem I have is that there might be a few legitimate cases, at hand. With the father earns a weekly salary, he's self-employed, money comes, from hand to mouth. But there can obviously be a huge potential of abuse where the mother took many months to have the matter heard in the maintenance court. She's finally in the maintenance court. What do they tell us? We'll advise you of a new date. Or we will postpone your matter to another date and we'll deal with the matter on that specific date. Now, the problem with that I have is that a maintenance process where the wheels are already moving extremely slowly, after the shutdown, it will have to start spinning all over again. And there's a big, possibility of abuse taking place.
So just to jump there, sorry, Felicity, as well, is I've actually just I haven't been able to get hold of a particular maintenance court through all their numbers. It never gets answered or it goes to voicemail. So what I've actually done, I've emailed an email address that you find online on the government website to say the person that deals with maintenance. And I've emailed them and they've actually responded within half an hour to say basically that all matters are going to be postponed and you can email a certain person for a date on, for example, Friday. I was told to email on Friday. So I've emailed him back to say, as you should know, the regulations say that maintenance matters will still be dealt with. Are you saying that now just everyone's matter is going to be postponed and not dealt with? And basically he said, the person said, you're welcome to come to court if you want to. So I don't know what he means by that. I said, do you mean that I'm welcome to come and postpone in person, or because it's going to be postponed in any event, or actually that the matter is going to be dealt with? And I understand people have issues about, in my case, the father might not pitch, the respondent might not pitch because of COVID-19. So there is many factors that are going to upset applicants, the usual ones of if they do pitch, are they going to bring the documents for the court to actually deal with the matter or not? But at the moment, the courts, this particular court's position is everything's going to be postponed.
So, Mohammed, I sent you some snippets of conversations that I was having earlier, because there was a directive issued yesterday, or a media statement yesterday, about the functionality of family violence courts, and the maintenance courts falls within that framework of urgent or critical services that are available. And my understanding is that they will deal with arrears or new applications, provided you have all the documentation. They won't be able to do financial inquiries, etc. But and particularly for women who need urgent relief. Now, I know from my own experience that under normal circumstances, the maintenance courts were completely inefficient in understanding the urgency of getting financial assistance. So is this an opportunity for people to approach the domestic violence courts? And if so, again, I ask the question, the reality is how are they going to enforce these orders? How are they going to go and serve the interim orders? How are they going to enforce the interim orders? Because then everybody's going to be flocking to the domestic violence courts who are seeking relief under financial abuse.
Yes, it's again a situation where you have nice, pretty laws written down on paper. Well drafted, the grammar is good, the policies are nicely put out. But in the reality, again, it does not work and it will not work. Even if the minister had to say something totally different, or the problem which I see over here is the people do not want to attend, the court officials, the courts themselves, do not want to attend to these type of matters because of the lockdown and because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So if you advise a client to go to the domestic violence court, the question is, will the domestic violence court have the capacity at a specific time to entertain you? I doubt they will have the capacity to detain you. They'll have a skeleton staff. They'll allow one person at a time to go into the court, most probably, or X amount of people go into the court at a specific time, and they will just deal with the matter to the bare minimum. So I would say if the wheels of justice span slowly a year ago, it will maybe be crawling now, and I don't think we'll get any type of relief. I would say the best thing to do is, if you can make arrangement to the court, do that, but going to the court and trying to have your matter finalized, I doubt you'll have much help.
Yeah, the feedback is that people are being turned away from the courts. So I had a conversation with a member of parliament this morning, and I brought it to her attention that people are being turned away from the courts. And she advised me, one, to chronicle a list for her and find out exactly which court so that she can take it up as a member of parliament. And also that they must actually, when they go to court, they must show them that particular section of the directive where they're compelled to address these issues. Again, I'm going to say that's wonderful instructions, but I can see the woman who doesn't have the background that I have or the knowledge, the legal knowledge that you have, taking this piece of paper, going to the courts and going, but here it is. And they're still going to say, sorry. They're going to turn around. It's a waste of transport money, and they're still disempowered to enforce what is clearly a directive under these extreme uncertain circumstances.
Nicole?
I think the responsibility needs to shift to whether it's the government in consultation with the courts, and to actually let their staff know that these are the directives or regulations that need to be dealt with, and instead of turning people away. I mean, as much as people can go to the court and they get turned away all the time, or during at least this lockdown period, I think the buck to be moved to the court staff and basically the government making sure that they know what they are supposed to be doing during this time. Mohammed?
Yes, I think, Felicity, the reality is, and it's a problem we have on all fronts. Even in a year ago's time, on a criminal matter must be resolved very fast, and the laws are very, very strict regarding that. Civil servants or court officials do not always do that. So you can show them the law, you can show them the right to speedy trial, you can show them the regulations regarding the Maintenance Act. Under normal times, things will still move slowly. So I strongly feel that things will not go slowly now. If you ask me the question, can we do anything about it? Can we make an urgent application to the High Court, enforcing the maintenance officers and maintenance officials to do their work? Then you'll have another problem whereby will the High Court now determine, is the High Court, I think the question will be, is the High Court at present moment equipped and efficient to deal with these type of applications? I would say no. The Western Cape High Court is in recess. There's only 2 judges sitting over there. They're dealing with a load of issues. So we're on a skeleton system in South Africa at present, and it seems to me government and everybody who's supposed to be working in terms of regulations would prefer to leave the office at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, so I mean, I'm really at pains to say this, but there's such an intersection with money and power and abuse. And I know from my research, and I'm sure that you two can collaborate this, we see how finances is used in domestic violence. And there's so much attention to being able to protect women during these times, particularly where we're expecting an escalation in abuse, yet financial means is a huge issue. It's one of the main cogs in this wheel. And I mean, it's one of the reasons that I'm a bit flustered today, because this is all I've been dealing with all morning. And at the point where I'm so disappointed that still we're sitting where this is not acknowledged by government, that this is a major problem. I accept that it's an emergency situation and they are having to relook things as they go along. But as we sit here today, other than talking about the family courts and saying maintenance courts is open, I have heard nothing from any of the ministers at any of these briefings talking about financial support and encouraging people to stick to those court orders.
No, it's a big concern, and it's a process riddled with abuse, with confusion. Even me and Nicole, being part of the Legal Practice Council, we got directives last week, we got new directives this week regarding how the courts operate. Everybody got it. So we didn't know how to even run our own practices and trying to deal and assist parties with these specific matters. If government is willing to address these issues, they should do it immediately. They shouldn't wait till tomorrow or the day after. As we said now, when we started these discussions, we dealt with the issue concerning contact between parents and minor children during lockdown. That is also, government dealt with it, and what's the outcome? The outcome is still impractical. It's not, I wouldn't say it's specifically workable. There are far greater issues at play beyond the saying, making a one-liner saying parents cannot exercise contact with minor children. Now, on the flip side again is where the courts are saying people can go to the maintenance courts, you can apply for maintenance, you can enforce certain type of orders, etc. That's again pretty on paper, but what happens? Nothing is happening with it.
No, absolutely. And one of the other things that has been coming up quite a lot in the media in the last couple of days is this narrative from fathers' rights groups that are trying to push 50-50 co-parenting and no maintenance. And part of my concern is, look, I really don't believe they have a huge amount of influence, but it's so unconstitutional. Our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, our Children's Act, our Maintenance Act, our Domestic Violence Act all speak to this. Yet this is being pushed on social media, and it has been for a long time. And it just is such a misunderstanding and misconception about the obligation of two parents financially providing. And it's not about just money, it's providing for the 5 basics that are provided for in our Constitution, and that is shelter, health, clothing, education, and food.
Nicole?
Yeah. I think basically everyone's situation is going to have to be judged on its own facts, and there's no blanket answer that we can give you or a blanket advice that we can give you for everyone to follow, because there's a lot of factors that need to be considered. And yes, this whole system and regulations pretty on paper, but it's definitely open for abuse by both mothers and fathers. But the thing is that we don't actually know what to advise our clients, because there's so many factors intertwined in, for example, financial, whether someone is that no longer has work. There's so many things intertwined in that I'm unable to actually give an answer for a blanket answer. I think for my current clients, I have tried to advise them because I know what their situation is, but ultimately my advice is still not enough, because it doesn't really help them if they're not getting money for their children, or if there's any type of abuse that they at the moment can't deal with, because the courts are anyway saying, no, go away, we're going to postpone the matter, come back another time after lockdown, which ultimately, I mean, we don't even know if lockdown is going to be 21 days or how the situation is going to be after the 21 days, how the courts are going to decide to operate after lockdown. Mohammed,
Yeah.
something rude?
Yeah, and there's a Felicity on my final words, and I agree with Nicole. What mothers need money, kids needs food. They don't need words, they don't need policies, they don't need directives. And that's all that we're getting now. We're getting words, documents, advice. But what the poor child requires food, he requires clothing, he requires the basic still of life. How can any regulation mean anything to the child where at the end of the day he gets nothing? What's the use of the maintenance officer, the maintenance magistrate, the prosecutor, etc. at court? Their job is useless because at the end of the day is the children still do not get their food or whatever maintenance they require. So I implore to government, you can have the best of drafters, you can have the best of lawyers drafting these policies and these directives and these legislation. But at the end of the day, if the child still does not get food or money from the father or from the mother for that specific case, then whatever you have done was just a waste of time.
Okay, this we need to discuss further. So much to talk about in here in different aspects. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Mohammed.
Thank you, Felicity.
Thank you, and we'll chat again soon.